Hello everybody. So yesterday Nvidia had its earnings call after hours. I did a live feed, but I'm going to give you the rundown of what happened with Nvidia and tell you a little bit about the market, what's going on, things like that. Let's get right into it. So there's something called EPS, which is earnings per share, which is how much money you're making per every single share outstanding. The earnings per share was $1.36 versus the expected $1.29. So Wall Street has an expected, and if you beat that, sometimes your price goes up, sometimes your price goes down. But if you miss expected, you screwed. So EPS was 136 versus 129 expected. Good. Revenue, 8.29. So 8,290,000,000 versus 8.11 billion expected. So that's also a beat by around $200 million. This is where things went a little bit south. There's also something called expectations for next quarter, right? So there's expectations for this quarter, and they already do expectations for next quarter. So Wall Street believes that next quarter, the expectations was 8.44 billion, right? They are saying that they're going to hit 8.1 billion. So Nvidia says they're going to get 8.1 billion instead of 8.44. But this is where it gets really, really interesting. Nvidia says that they're going to be losing 500 million in revenue because of China, lockdowns, and Russia, the war in Ukraine. I'm going to get to that in a moment. But if you take 8.1 billion projected and then you add 500 million that they're going to be losing, they would have made 8.6 billion, which would have demolished the 8.44 billion projected or expected by Wall Street. You understand what I mean? Wall Street expecting 8.44. We're going to give them 8.1, but we lost 500 million, which would have been 500 plus 8.1, gave us 8.6. So yes, we're going to miss expectations, but there's a reason why we're missing expectations, right? Of the 500 million, they're saying 400 million is going to come directly from gaming, and then 100 million is going to come from actual products. They believe that they're going to get this demand back. So it's not just supply, it's also supply and demand, right? So the demand is down because people are locked down in China and they have other things to think about than gaming and supply chains, right? Bottlenecking, things like that. They believe that eventually, and their long-term projections does not change for demand. And it's going to come back to normal after COVID, but they don't know how long COVID is going to last. Russia, which accounts for only 2% of sales, they're not going to be working with anymore. So Nvidia is out of Russia. They're not going to be providing Russia with anything. If sanctions are ever lifted, which I honestly don't think they are going to be, then they're going to go back into Russia. But I believe that when Ukraine is going to start rebuilding after the war, there's going to be a big market there. Not as big as Russia, but it's going to offset some of this. Because remember, the spending is going to be accelerated. Not just for Nvidia, for a lot of different markets, a lot of different companies. So whatever. Sales were up 46% year over year in general. The data center grew 83%. The gaming business grew 31%. So the data center and the gaming are two of the largest factors of Nvidia. Actually, the gaming was the biggest factor and the data center was the second biggest factor. But the second biggest factor actually grew by far more than the main factor. Visualization for workstations like professional visualization, that grew by 67%, while the automotive business was down 10%. So they grew everywhere except for automotives, which is pretty good. For automotives, I guess supplies, I can argue that it was supply chain issues because, you know, the inflation went like crazy because there's not enough supply for all of the demand, and because of that they were hurting. Now Nvidia does work with a lot of different automobile brands. They I think this is going to come back after COVID as well. I know it sounds crazy because everyone's like after COVID, but this is going to come back. Plus it only went down 10%. It's not that big of a deal, right? Nvidia bought back $2.1 billion worth of their shares, and this is in quarter one. And they got an okay from the board to buy back another. So it's additional, not 2.1 minus this number. It's 2.1 plus this number of 15 billion to buy back more shares, and that's going to be until the end of next year, not this year, 2022, but until December 2023. So they got about a year and a half, 18 months or so, to buy back these shares. To give you some type of understanding, 15 billion is approximately 3.5% of today's market cap, which is just north of $400 billion. So it's a significant amount. Just by buying back these shares, the price should come back, because as there's less shares in the open market and the demand remains the same, the supply reduces, the demand increases, which causes the price to increase as well. And the people that do have shares, their share price increases, or should. This is the normal dynamics of buybacks and dividend payments. If you guys remember, there was an ARM deal where they were supposed to buy ARM, and they would have just dominated the entire globe. That didn't go through. That deal would have been absolutely massive. And they were buying it from, I believe, SoftBank, if I'm not mistaken. SoftBank was the main owner of ARM. And they had to pay a penalty for the termination of it. And the penalty was $1.35 billion. And I believe that affected their share price for GAAP earnings, I think 50 cents, 54 cents off the top of my head. I'm sorry, I don't have anything in front of me. I had to write this down. I'm just trying to give you guys information as we go. Nvidia is one of my must-have 4 stocks. None of this financial advice, purely entertainment, educational purposes. But for me, Nvidia is a must-have 4 stocks. My 4 stocks, of course, are in no particular order: Palantir, Nvidia, Unity, Tesla. Those are my 4 stocks. I think that those should be in everybody's portfolio if you want a powerful growth portfolio. This is the tech sector portfolio. Nvidia is not going nowhere, guys. Let me explain something to you. So a lot of people are like, oh, everybody has Nvidia, but you know, there's only so much Nvidia you could buy, like the chips and things like that. You're always going to need new chips. I have an Nvidia GRX, what was it called? 3070. Which was the second best one. At the time, 3070 and 3080 just came out. I got my hands on the 3070. I use it for all of my video editing, like the professional service. And they said that they are growing massively in content creators, like YouTubers and things like that. People that do professional videos or videos for YouTube. And I'm telling you, it's very intensive to cut these videos. Like, I'm filming this on my cell phone, and my cell phone takes up more memory. It gives me ultra high def, like I can get 140 megapixels or something. It's crazy. If I wanted, you could see every single piece of hair, you know, anything on me. It takes time to process that, and I have a really good laptop. I have a GeForce Nvidia. It's great, and even that is becoming slow when I'm processing through my Adobes, right? Because it's very energy efficient. I'm going to be buying a new laptop next year. Everybody has to upgrade their laptops if you want to compete. If I want to compete with other content creators, you have to upgrade. I know a content creator that only uploads once in a while because their computer is shit and they didn't upgrade. It costs money to upgrade, but you get what you pay for. So in that term, I feel Nvidia. So I also believe that there's going to be a need for chips forever. Tell that to any analyst that's trying to badmouth Nvidia. Nvidia is a crazy bargain at around 400 something billion. It's more than 50% down, if I'm not mistaken. It was close to 1 trillion market cap. It was like 900 billion market cap. I remember there was a competition between Nvidia and Tesla. Who's going to get to 1 trillion first? Nvidia didn't hit it, and Tesla did. They're both great values, in my personal opinion. Nvidia is not going anywhere. There's always going to be growth opportunities. And they did say that only a third of the market is using GTX chips, while the rest is using RTX. I'm sorry, off the top of my head. So there is a lot of room for growth, and the G chips are much, much better. They're much more efficient, especially when you need high quality, anything with Adobe, AutoCAD, Revit. Architects use it, and content creators use it, and film producers use it. It's not going anywhere. Guys, thank you so much. Have a great day.